Right, hello everyone. I am doing this one by myself. So if you're watching the recording, there's no other participants, it's just me. So I'm just going to get on with it. Obviously, if you're watching at home, you can pause and stuff. So I'm just going to go at the pace. So this class is all about buttercream piping and layered piping. So when I say layered piping, I mean full on Marie Antoinette, the whole story. So let me show you some of my pictures that I got as inspiration for us. See? So this is kind of what I had in mind. Okay, so I'm going to make something like this. This little one as well, I also loved. It's like a little knitting wool vibe, which is kind of similar techniques. So I'm going to do some of that as well. And then last but not least, I'm going to do some of this stuff. So this macrame, I don't know how you say it, is very on trend at the moment. So this is actually founded in the picture. And I'm going to do something similar with butter icing, I think. So you can see just these drop lines and stuff to get that vibe, similar look. And I might do some writing on the top. So as I say, it's just me. So I'm going to go at the pace, hit the pace. But the first thing I'm going to do is what the sort of initial plan was, which is the full on more is more Marie Antoinette. Okay. So I'm going to keep that blue guy just in my view as inspiration. Oopsie. Okay, I am using a dummy cake. So it's not a real cake. Obviously, if you're using a real cake, you will need to ice your cake and then get it ready for piping on. Because it's a dummy cake and it's light, I'm going to stick it onto the board with some double-sided tape just to stop it from moving around. Obviously, a real cake, you don't need to stick it on with double-sided tape. It's just for this guy. Okay, there we go. Right. Okay. So if you look at this picture here, actually, either of these pictures, you need to smear the butter icing onto the cake before you start. So for instance, if you're looking at this one, in between those little stars and things, you don't want to have the underneath of the cake peeping out. So you would do your crumb layer, which is what I'm going to do, except there's no crumbs because it's a dummy. And then you're going to pipe over the top of it. So I have white icing here. I thought I would color it a little bit. And I have some sort of dark blue purple that was left over from another cake that I did. So I think maybe what I'll do is just mix some of the white in with this to make them slightly lighter colors. That's the color. That is just a bit of leftover. The consistency of this icing is extremely important. It needs to be easily spreadable so that you can spread it comfortably on the cake. If it is too firm, you will have a lot of crumbs coming up, and every time you try and spread, you're going to have a big mess. If it's too runny, you're not going to be able to pipe it. This icing was made with the recipes on our website, which is half, so 250 grams of butter to 500 grams of icing sugar. You can increase the icing sugar, but at some point it becomes grainy. So you don't want to increase it too much. Oopsie, sorry, because otherwise you'll end up with something that's so grainy it doesn't pipe nicely and you lose the definition of the shape. Okay. When I make it, I usually add a little bit of milk and then I beat it for quite a long time on a low temperature, a low setting on the machine, just to make sure that it is nice and smooth and soft and not grainy. But obviously the longer and the faster you beat it on the machine, the more air bubbles you get. Sorry, I'm just getting some of this off here. So for instance, let's just see if there's, where you can see them, those air bubbles there. And it's not really a problem. As you smooth it out, you'll see those air bubbles will disappear and you'll get a very smooth finish. Okay. So you don't want to go too crazy with the beating on high speed because that just makes more and more and more air bubbles. There we go. Okay. The icing keeps very well in the fridge or the freezer. So in the fridge, I'd say about a week. In the freezer, probably for 3 months. So if you make it ahead and you find that you've got some left over, you can just put it in the freezer until the day that you try and push the spoon and then not fetching the spoon. just so you can see the color. I just wanted to lighten it a bit. I don't know, that's dark, this purple is very dark. There we go, that's a good color. And just makes it so you get a nice smooth color. I would have done this in the machine. Machine's not here though. It's noisy. There we go. That's quite lovely. The machine obviously just makes it in quicker, but it's not really a big deal, I don't think, either way. Right, so I'm going to spread it all over this cake. If you had a real cake, it would be a one-way street, so the icing goes onto the cake but doesn't go back in the bowl, especially if there are crumbs involved. You don't want crumbs on your cake. I mean, in your icing, sorry, you don't want crumbs anyway. Okay. And I'm really just putting a very thin layer on here, so you can see, because obviously this is polystyrene. No one's going to eat it. I don't want to waste icing on something that's actually not going to be eaten. When you are butter icing or ganaching, use your palette knife this way around so that you get a nice even spread. If you use it like this, you're going to end up with a lot of these funny little lumps, which you'll then need to scrape over. So you want to use it this way around. And also try to scrape without lifting. So every time you lift up your palette knife, that's when the crumbs get into the icing. So you want to spread and spread and spread without lifting the palette knife off. That's what drags the crumbs in. Okay. And once you've got a good kind of amount of icing all around, on there yet. Let's just cut these bits. You can take your smoother scraper thing. I've got this red one, which I got from Cat Foods, but most of the baking shops sell something similar, or you can get a scraper from the hardware store. Then I'm going to go around the edge, and I'm just going to show you how to get a nice corner on this icing. Okay. And obviously it's the same with a real cake. You want to just have good coverage. You don't want any cake peeping out at this stage. There we go. So I'm just going to, oh, there's actually a huge gap here. Hang on. Just going to go around with the smoother so we can see if we need more icing. So this smoother, just white butter icing on it. This smoother has a small little flat bit there. So that needs to be flat on the board. So that as you scrape around, your sides are perpendicular to the board. See? You can see it's moving around a lot because it's a dummy cake. Just keep going. If you've got a real cake, you probably won't move as much. They're the air bubbles I'm talking about. I don't know. Can you see them? Let me just put the light on them. There you go. So just smooth over those. The more you smooth out, the more that they will disappear. Sometimes if you get a lump or something, that can also cause a similar kind of appearance. Just pick that lump out. Okay. And then as you go around, you'll see if there's places where there's not enough icing. Uh-oh. What's on here? That's and just fill in any bits that need attention. And you want it to go right down to the board. And then for these corners, so just smooth your top flattish like that, so that your top is covered. And then as I scrape around, you'll see it should cause the icing to kind of stick over the top like that. Then you just take your smoother and work it in to get a nice square corner. Okay, I'm not going to spend hours smoothing this out. I think it's reasonably smooth and most of it will be covered with our decorations. So I just want a nice smooth surface to work on. Okay, I can see a little bit of cake or fake cake peeping out. So let's just put that out. There we go. Obviously, if it was a real cake, you would maybe put it on a little thicker. This is quite thin. Okay, there we go. And when you do this piping, it is quite consuming of icing. So you want to, especially if you've got a strange color, mix plenty, because you'll see you need quite a lot to pipe it on and get that perfect pipe finish. And you don't want to end up having to mix more color and then it doesn't match your background color. Okay, that's good enough, I think. Right. Then we're going to put the rest of this piping, this icing into a piping bag so we can start our piping. Okay. I just want to get out the nozzles that I'm going to use. If you look on here, you'll see there's a variety of different nozzles being used here. So let's have a look. So this cake is a 15 centimeter cake, which is quite small actually. It's the smallest sort of tin size that you usually get. Just to show you the different types of nozzles you get. Okay, so this one here is called a closed star. This one is called an open star. This one has a bit of a twist to it, but it's open in the sense that the teeth are sticking up straight. This guy is also a closed star, but it is a French tip, so lots of little teeth compared to that one, which has fewer teeth. On this one here, so this would be something like this, an open star with not a French tip. This is something similar but smaller. We need a plain round one for these dots and for these little drop lines. This one here, oh no, you can't see. Where is it? There. This one there is a petal nozzle and then a leaf nozzle. So those are the ones that we need. Let me just make sure I've got the right sizes. I'll show you the sizes and then you can see the numbers. Okay, so this is, that's a bit small maybe. There we go, that's a good size. That's nice. So I'm just getting a few things out. You don't have to use these exact sizes. They're just some ideas that you can use. And you'll see the different shapes that it gives when you actually start using it. Number 3, or 4, even better, 3.5. And in terms of types of nozzles, the ones that you get mostly in South Africa are just these gem ones or similar. But you can get really all kinds of different nozzles. Okay, here we go. Right. Okay, let me just walk you through that again. I don't think that was really on the screen there. Okay, so I'm going to stick with these slightly smaller sized ones because, like, there we go. There we go. You can really see. Because the cake is not that huge, I don't want to have those giant ones. They're just a bit too big. I think this is probably the biggest that we're going to go with for this size cake. If the cake itself is a bit bigger, we could go with a bigger size. What I am going to use are these things which are called couplers. So we can change between our nozzles in between. So if we don't like exactly the size that we've got, we can adjust. Okay. Sorry, let's just go over that again. So this one here, these little rosettes on the top, that is a large closed star, something like this or slightly bigger. Okay, so that's the top. This edge around the top here, this little shell border, that is also a closed star, could be an open star, it's hard to say for sure, but it's much smaller. So I'm going to go with that one. Then there's the little round dots, that's just a straight round one. This brand is a PME brand and it's a 3.5, but you could just use, this is a Tico brand, which is a 3. So for whatever reason, they're slightly different sizes. I think I'm going to use that 3.5. I think I want it a bit chunkier. Then we've got this little ruffly thing, which is a leaf. I'm going to use this one, which is a number 67. And they do also come in a larger size. This is a 115, which is also a leaf nozzle, but I think it's a little bit big for the cake. So we're not going to use that one. Then we have sort of repeats of all of those. And then this thing here, this is a petal nozzle, I think. Again, 2 different sizes. The more bigger size is a 127. I'm going to use the smaller size, which is a 104. So these petal nozzles, they look like a teardrop almost. They're for piping flowers and various things. If you have a, if you're right-handed, they sell a curved one, but only right-handed people use them. So if you are left-handed, make sure you buy either a straight one or one that curves to the left. They are labeled as such. There's a small little French tip. I thought I might use that for some other details. Maybe those little circles they have. That's quite nice fun. And then there's another open star. I'll keep that one near because I might use that one. Okay. So I'm actually going to need 2 bags here. If you look at these different piping sizes. So this size goes with that coupler and that size goes with that coupler. So I'm going to make 2 bags with the 2 different couplers in them. I'm using these slightly smaller bags, which are like a disposable plastic one. I do have bigger ones, which I would normally use for butter icing. This kind. But I'm just going to use these smaller ones because I think you've got more control with a smaller bag. But just make sure you don't overfill your bag. You don't want to have your bag so full that you can't control what's happening at the back end. There we go. So for this, you're going to turn it over so that the top is folded down over it like that. Cut a hole in it. Don't worry too much about the size of that hole. Just so that this part, so the coupler has 2 parts. That part goes inside the bag, and this part is the bit that attaches the nozzle onto the outside of the bag. If you don't have a coupler, you just cut your hole and put the nozzle inside. I'm using the coupler because we're using one color, but we want to be changing between them. So you can see there's quite a bit of plastic sticking out the end. I'm just going to cut that away so it doesn't interfere with the nozzle. Right, and I'm going to start with this guy. I think he's quite a sweet shape. And then just screw it onto the back. Okay. And then you're going to put your hand inside this part of the bag so that you can hold it. Some people like to put it over a glass or something. Totally up to you. And just pull that up. There we go. If you fill it more than half full, you will have leaking out the back. So I would say that's probably enough for this bag. Also, if your hands are very warm, you'll find that the butter icing starts to melt in the bag. So it's another reason not to fill it too full. You can just refill with cool icing from the bowl again. Okay, make a nice twist in the back there. If you want to, you can just tie an elastic band around the back. I lost my elastic band. I had one. I cannot find. Okay, never mind. You can put an elastic band around the back to stop it from leaking out the back. Okay. This one I'm going to put the bigger coupler on, the bigger hole. These large couplers, I just want to make sure they actually do fit. So they have 2 different size rings that go with them. Just make sure that the nozzle isn't going to fall through. Sometimes, oh, these are both fine. Sometimes you think it's going to fit and then the nozzle just falls through there. It doesn't work. I find that these large ones really quite uncomfortable to work with because they're so big. So I normally just put the nozzle inside it only because we're changing between our various different colors. Okay, here we go. And put some icing in there as well. Doing. And because this cake has different sort of, what's the word I'm looking for? Repeated patterns. Here we go. We want to make sure that we are able to evenly pipe them out. Okay, so that's handy. So I've got this piping, this turntable, which specifically allows you to tilt it, okay, so that you can pipe onto the side of the cake without getting a stiff neck. Okay. But I do find that sometimes with the drop lines and stuff, if it's not flat, they don't drop evenly and you get a slight tilting to one side or the other. So just see how you go. If you, I think with the drop lines, you'll want to do it straight down. Otherwise, if you have it, you can tilt it. Okay. So before we even start piping, we need to mark out how it's going to be. Okay. So I'm just going to use a ruler. I'm going to just gently press down in the middle. Okay. Then I'm going to go, wait, hang on. Basically just cutting it into pie slices. Okay. So I'm going to do 8 because it's easy to divide it into half and half and half again. So there they are, my 8 little segments. And then just make sure that it is visible on the side. You don't have to go all the way down. If you want to, you could. This has got so much decoration on it. It will be covered. Just so that you know that your sections are all equal. Or you could just stick a pin in at the top so to mark that position, so you know every time when you start where the point is. There we go. Okay, so I've got my lines neatly marked out. So you can see that. Okay. If you're worried about doing, this cake looks so skew in the picture, but not in real life. If you're worried about doing those drop lines, you need to find a cutter that is that distance that you can press in to give you a guideline shape. Okay, I'm going to do them all just so that you can see. I'm actually only going to pipe half of this cake, to be honest. And the reason for that is because in the other half I want to do I'm going to do that section there. And on the other side I'm going to do the jersey effect. Okay. Right. So for this guy, where shall we start? I find it easiest to start from the bottom, but I think it's really up to you where you feel comfortable. And just remember that butter icing is nice and forgiving, so you can always go over it again if you want to. Usually at the bottom we have the biggest border. So that is quite a wide border. I'm going to do layered border. So there's going to be parts to my border. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do what they call a twisted rope, just to build it up a little bit. So I'm just going to go round and round and round. I should have started at the line. What an idiot. Okay. It's just in those gaps. Sorry, what an idiot. Obviously, if you're going all the way around, you just start somewhere and you go until you end. Okay. I'm not worried about that because I'm going to come and cover it up. But if you do have a join like that, you would want to put it at an inconspicuous place. So put all your joins on in the same place so that they all can be at the back, if you have a back. Okay, then on top of this, I'm going to use a different nozzle. So I'm going to use that just for variety. I'm going to use that, where have I put it? It's the same one. Sorry, the one I want is on the bag already. What is happening now? Okay. So this one that I'm going to do now is called shell border. Okay. It is one of these things that you will see everywhere. Okay. Let me just do, I'm just going to go around the top here so you can see. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to squeeze out and touch down. Squeeze out, touch down. Okay. I'm doing it over the top of this twisted rope thing. Okay. The twisted rope is just to, it's mostly going to be covered, I think. So don't get too worried about that because you'll see now it's going to be covered with the other things. Okay. It's really just to build up the height on that. Okay. And the twisted, the shell border, what you want to do, let me just do it here again. So you want to squeeze and pull, and then pull it away completely. Your next one, start on the end of that so you can't see that ugly end. Squeeze and pull. And it is just practice. That is just, sorry, here's the train. It's just a lot of practice. The more you do it, the easier it will become. Oh, no, that train is coming again. Right, I'm putting the leaf nozzle on. So that's this guy. It's a number 67. And I'm going to go over here with the leaf nozzle. So just again to show you, the leaf nozzle itself, to make the leaf, you just squeeze it and kind of pull away to make a leaf. That's all there is to it. I don't know if you can even see that leaf. But we're not using it to make a leaf right now. We're using it to make a ruffle. Okay, so if you just kept squeezing it and you didn't do anything, you would get a ruffle. Okay, I usually do a little bit of a kind of a pulse just to really ham it up, but you can actually see that's probably neater. So let's just do it like that. Okay, so just squeeze. Somebody's making a big noise on that train. Okay. Once you get to the point where the point, you need to have it kind of at an angle. So that's why the turntable is so helpful for this, because you can turn it as you go. Okay. There we go. So there's our ruffle at the bottom. I'm just going to scrape away these chocolates that I'm using as just as an example, just because I don't want to confuse myself about what we're doing. Okay, there we go. Right, the next one I'm going to do is with the petal nozzle. So actually, so just looking at this cake here, so they've got a ruffle there and a ruffle there, and they've got some other stuff in between. So I think what I'm going to do is just create a little line around here. So, because I don't think my cake is quite as tall as this, so I'm just going to do drop here and one more drop there. So I just want to mark where that's going to be. Okay. Okay, and then maybe just mark it again with my cookie cutter, just so that I can see again where we're going to be. Sometimes I don't always mark it out this sort of intensely. Sometimes I just mark the bottom so that I can see where I'm going. So there you go, you already got an idea of how it's going to look. Again, don't worry too much about those little things. Right, the petal nozzle. Okay, so I've actually never done a drop line with the petal nozzle. It's on this picture, but let's see how it goes. So the petal nozzle also has a thin side at the top and a fat side at the bottom. It also has the ability to make a ruffle. So let's just do it here on the side. So if you wanted to do not like a ruffle at the side of the cake, you could do that. You can see, it gives you quite a pretty ruffle. This one is not like this one. This one is not ruffled. It's not left and right like this. It's just start. So when you start a drop line, make sure it's attached nicely and end it. Okay. Start and end. I am not loving it. I don't know. I think there's much prettier things to do. I'm going to scrape it off. As I say, I've personally never done it with a ruffle before, so let's just get rid of these guys. And this is why I love butter icing. So if you don't like what it looks like, scrape it off, go again. There's no harm, no foul. Okay. The other thing that you can do with this ruffle nozzle, I mean this petal nozzle, is make the piped flowers. I do have another class on that, so I'm not going to do it now because I want to do other things, but so you know that that's quite useful for that. Okay, let's just do an old school drop line. I'm using this 3.5, this PME 3.5. Okay. Right. Okay, so for these drop lines, and again, you can build this up with multiple layers if you want to. You don't have to. You could start off with the star one and then go over it. I'll show you an example of that in a minute. But basically, you're just going to squeeze out all of this. And they do break. Don't get too worked up about it if it breaks. Just don't break it into something low. Let me just do a test run here for you to see. So when you do it, you're going to squeeze it out, and you need to let it drop to its full extent before you touch down again. Because if you touch, then try to drop, then you're not going to get that smooth effect. Okay. And these do take a bit of practice, and as I say, they do break. It's just the nature of the beast. So when you are doing the drop, you want to let it squeeze out. There we go. If you pull too hard or too fast, it won't, you'll get that break like I did when I first did it. Okay. Perfection. And where these little joins are here, not perfection. Where these little joins are there, I'm feeling like this is a good reason to start from the top of the cake. So if you drop onto something, you don't mess up the below. Top tip, top tip. Okay. There we go. These joints here, there's usually something covering that up. We're going to put some more other pipe details, a little bow or something. Oh. Also, air bubbles can be a hindrance. So if you have an air bubble, it can cause that line to break. And if your icing is too, now I've got something stuck in there. If your icing is too dry or grainy, you might also have problems. I don't know what that is, but it's a piece of hard icing or something in there. Okay, let's go again. Oh, no. There's something in this nozzle. Hold on. And this is a good reason to sieve your icing sugar, because if you get something in your nozzle, like whatever's in here, there it is. You can see it's a little grain of sugar. You can see it? I don't know what it's from. It could be from the nozzle, it could be from the icing. But those little grains can cause your life to be very difficult. So if your icing are coming out nicely from the bag, and that's a good reason to sieve. Here's another one. Get away. There we go. Okay, let's go again. Okay, there's an air bubble, but I saw it coming, so I managed to get it on there just in time before it broke. Okay. Okay. So you can see how it's starting to form the pattern. I'm also going to do another option. So let's say, just go, oopsie. Oh, I just stuck my finger in. Let's just go to here, for instance. Let's say you're not feeling confident with these drop lines and they're just not working out for you. Then you just follow your line that you've marked and just do dots. Okay, so I'm just going to do it along here, dots. Okay, so with a dot, you want to squeeze and pull away, squeeze and pull away. If you're getting little peaks like that, you can just use a damp brush to push them down. I don't think it's really such a big deal. I'm not hating them. I think they're quite cute, so I'm going to leave them. What you don't want to do is to be squeezing and pull away while you're still squeezing, because then you'll get those kind of things, and that is not what we want. We don't want those. Okay. And always just make sure your nozzle is clean and tidy, because if you get dried stuff on the end there, they don't come out straight anymore and you get weird effects. Okay. Let's see. And I don't know, with this style, I feel like more is just more. The more you do, the more you do, the more exciting it is. Okay. And if you're not accustomed to piping a lot, you'll find that your hands might become quite tired. Just take a break. Don't overfill your bags. The less you have to hold in your hand, the easier it is to get it done. Okay. There we go. So now we've got some dots. Where the lines are that go down, I'm going to put a few more dots there just to make a bit of further ornamentation. So I'm going to make a small, a medium, and a large dot. So this is just by squeezing for a longer or shorter time. So the more pressure you add or the longer you squeeze it, the bigger your dot will become, just to give it a bit of interest. And you want to think like those crystal chandeliers or something. Go look at those for inspiration for this kind of stuff. You'll see what I mean. Okay, large. Great. Okay, it's coming along nicely. Right. The next one I want to do is a shell border. So I'm going to follow this line and I'm going to do a shell border along there. Okay, so it's this one again, but I want to do it with a slightly smaller star. So I'm going to use that little one, just a little French tip. I'm just going to do a practice one at the top here for you to see. So basically the same, but just slightly daintier. Okay. And I'm just going to follow the line. I'm just going to follow the line. I'm not going to go to the next level. I'm just going to go over this. Okay. Sorry, and talking while I'm doing this, not so good. Okay. Okay, so where these joins are here, you can see it needs some attention. It's not looking so beautiful. So I'm just going to make a little rosette. So a rosette is just a little shape like that. We'll see, that one's a disaster. Like that. Okay. So you just do a little swirl. So I'm just going to do a little swirl there just to cover them up. Okay. And again, if you've got a bit of a sticky out thing, just come back with a damp brush or once it's crusted with your finger. Okay. So this icing, I don't know if you can see it here, it's getting quite soft and I can see it there, it's a bit greasy looking. So I'm just going to put this bag down and let it rest for a bit, and I'm going to start working with the other bag, which is nice and cold still. So this one has this closed star, the smaller of the two that we had. So I'm going to do the edge, the border along the top here, because that's a good size for it. Doing a top border like this is actually not always so easy with a real cake. It's very easy with the dummy cake because the dummy cake is perfectly straight at the top. Oopsie, if you have a real cake, you might want to just make sure you've squared off that corner really well, because otherwise you will battle to get, it won't look perfect. It will look, you could even put a little gold ball or something there as well if you wanted to. Okay, so I'm going to do a shell border along here. Actually, no, I've got a better one. I'm going to do something which is called alternating shell. No, maybe I'm not. So the alternating shell, let me just show you what it looks like. You go one way and then the other way, and then one way and then the other way. It gives you that look. I'm just going to do the shell. I'll maybe use the alternating shell somewhere else. I'm worried it will make my top look uneven if I do it here. And for me, shell border is a bit like, oh, last century. I'm actually not a big fan of it. But on this kind of thing, I do love it. I love it. It's like takes it all to the whole next level. Okay, so there's my shell border. It's got a few issues. I think it's the angle I'm working at. Okay. I'm going to do those rosettes on the top just while I've got this big one here. So I'm switching to that bigger star that I had just now. So this guy, you could even go bigger for these rosettes. That one is quite big. Okay. So just to move this actually, no, I'll take it off here. There we go. So I'm going to do a rosette in each little segment. Okay. And I've got some little cherries, which I'm going to put on the top just now, like the picture. Okay, so with a rosette, you've got two options. If you do it from the inside out, it looks like that. And it's quite popular at the moment to have whole cakes where they kind of cover the cake like that. I'm sure you've seen those. Or if you do it from the outside in, so it gives you this thing that we're trying to do, but it's like the top of a cupcake, basically. Okay, but yeah, let's poke that. Okay, so nice big rosette to give it a bit of height, outside in. So, wee. Okay, outside in. Wee. I've got a round of icing in here. A little bit more. So this is where this is going to use up a lot more icing and a lot quicker because it's big. It's a big thing. Okay. So when you refill your bags like that, there will always be an air bubble there. No matter how carefully you do it, there will always be an air bubble. So if you're squeezing out, let me just do it into the bowl so you can see. If you're squeezing out onto your cake, what you don't want is for the air bubble to pop while you're busy squeezing. So I squeeze into the bowl until I hear that puff. Then I know my air bubble is out and you can carry on. Okay. Nice big rosette. There we go. Okay. And then I will put them on just now, I think. I've got the maraschino cherries, which I'm going to put on the top. Hopefully this icing has cooled down a bit. If it's not cooling down, if it's just staying soft, just refill your bag with some fresh icing or put the bag in the fridge. I'm not near the fridge, so I'm just going to put a bit of fresh icing in there, I think. So we can carry on with our awesome border patrol. What you don't want is for your icing to become so soft that it loses its shape when you're busy with it. Having a few different bags can support you because it's like hot summer. You can put one bag in the fridge while you're working with the other bag, and then you can swap around. Okay. I'm just going to squeeze it out to get rid of the air and to get rid of some of that really soft stuff. There we go. Okay. Right. So back to our picture. The next one I want to do is the petal ruffle along there. I'm going to fill in that gap just now with some dots and things. But I just want to get, actually no, I should probably do the dots first. Here, let's do those first. Sorry, I'm rethinking my plan. Then the ruffle can go over the top. And I'm not trying to squeeze in between. Okay, so the same kind of thing. I'm just going to do another round of dots and another round of drop lines. And then I want to do a fleur-de-lis in between. Okay, so let's go with dots. And I'm just using that marking as a guideline. So I'm on the mark, but I'm, oh, things in here again, no? Okay. And this stuff, it does take a bit of practice, so please don't get despondent if you're not getting it perfectly the first time. I have to do it for a long time. Right, okay, let's go another drop line. Oh, I'm not feeling these drop lines. Maybe I won't go with another drop line. I think more irritating than to clean up something instead. Okay, maybe I'll just do another row of dots here. Because I still want to do that macrame thing, which has lots and lots of drop lines for me to torture myself with. Okay. So there, that guy, you don't want that look. Get rid of him, just push him down. Okay, there we go. There we go again. I'm going to come with a leaf ruffle to do the next kind of one. So that's the same one that we used at the bottom here. Okay, and I'm going to just follow the line. It's actually completely covered my dots, never mind. Okay. Just like that. So there's still a few patches that I feel could be filled in some more. I feel like we've got some space here. So I think I'm going to come with a different star nozzle and do a further shell border there. I just found a different star. Sorry, I got everything out here. I have to change my mind. So I'm looking for something, just a different shape. It doesn't have to really be. It doesn't have to be different. I'm just, want to change it up a little bit, make something a bit different. I'm going to use this one as a number 35. So it looks like that. It's just a closed star. It's like the large one I had just now, really, but that bag is empty now. I don't feel like refilling, so I'm just going to use this guy. Okay. There we go. So just to fill in that gap there, and this gap actually, I'm going to go over it with another shell border. Okay. See? It's looking amazing. Right. Here is a little bit of cake or polystyrene peeping out. So we don't want that to be visible. So I'm going to use something to hide that. My small shell again. Okay. You can see my hand is getting tired now because I'm not being as careful as I was when I started. A little bit messier. So rather than messing up your cake, just take a break if you get to that point. I think that's probably enough. I might just put one more row of dots just because our dots got kind of covered up by that ruffle. Yeah, just going to do some extra dots here. I mean, and at some point you just got to call it. You got to say this is really enough decoration. Obviously, this is the more is more is more design. Here we go. How lovely is that? Right, and then the maraschino cherries. Let me see if I can get the tin open. Oh la la. Hang on. Let me see hands. So these cherries have their stalks attached to give you that beautiful cherry with the stalk sticking up. Wait, hang on. You cannot see that. There we go. There it is. Perfection. Ordinarily, I would, so just to prevent that, I don't know if you can see that, some dripping, I would drain them in a sieve just beforehand, just so they are a little bit dry and you don't get the sauce, the juice dripping down everywhere. Okay, so there we go. That is our first look. And I had actually intended to just leave it at that, but as always, I got a bit carried away. So I'm going to do some other looks now. If I can ever find my cloth. Right, so the next one I want to do is the little, I'm going to do on the back of this cake, is the little kind of knitted jersey one, which I think could be very cute for Christmas. So So I just want to, just going to do it in this section here. So I'm going to just scrape away my practice rounds that I had there. Okay. There we go. Just make sure my under layer, whatever, is smooth again. Okay, there we go. Okay, this one doesn't have the drop lines, so I'm not so concerned about those segments that I made initially. What I am more interested in now is making sure that all my rows are straight. Okay. So what we want to see is that they go straight across like this. I'm just going to mark sort of randomly. So all I'm doing is holding the knife in one place and spinning the turntable. Okay. It's really just to keep it even so that you can see where you're working. It doesn't look very straight, does it? That's the problem there. There we go. Okay. So just to show you the picture again, all the same sort of nozzles that we've used. There's the big star and the big star, the French tip, and then this is just the little straight tip. So this one is going to be a bit more tiring. I'll show you now. I think that's why they didn't do the whole thing with that. Okay, I'm going to start at the top for this one because lessons I learned from the one I just did. It means if you drop anything, you don't mess up what you've done below. Right, okay, so let us begin with the French tip, okay? So I'm using, this is a number 32, the same French tip, the same one we've just been using. Oh, okay. And they've just done a round of stars. So the star is just like the dot, but with the star nozzle. So you just do a round of these. Okay, that's all they've done. Okay. And again, you can see it's a little bit greasy. It's quite warm from my hands. Okay, then they've used the small straight round one, the number 3.5. It's the one that I'm using. You could use a 4, 2, 3, any of them is fine. And this is going to look knitted. Okay, so we're going to do a line that way, a line that way, like a bunch of crosses. Okay. Okay, and try and follow your line. I feel like my line, whoopsie, wasn't very level. Yeah, see, as I said, you can, I don't know if you can see that, but it's quite soft. My hands are very warm. I'm just going to refill the bag, I think. You know, I don't want to stop every 2 minutes, but there's nothing more irritating than doing the whole thing and then it just goes smush. And as the icing gets softer, the line that you cut out also gets a bit wider. So let's just refill. And some of the softer bits that I've cut into here, I'm just going to mix it up with the cooler stuff, just so that you're not refilling the softer stuff. Nice, yeah. There we go. And again, I'm just going to squeeze it into my bowl until it farts. Which should also clear away most of that really soft stuff in there. Okay. Uh-oh. Dropped a stitch. Okay. And I am a big fan of knitting and crocheting, so I feel like this is too cute. Okay, in there one day I've done another row of this. My hand is already quite tired, so I'm not going to do another row just yet. I'm going to do something with the bigger nozzle, which is a little bit less tiring. But I will work in another row like this in a minute. I'm going to use the bigger bag, I think. Let's just put some more icing in it because it's got a nice big shell on it, nice big star on it. And I do have a bit more icing in here. Again, just mix in any soft stuff. And don't forget to squeeze out your petal. And with these clear ones, you can quite clearly see where that bubble is. So you can see there, that's where the air is. Oh, just flying everywhere. Okay. So actually along the same lines as the one that I've just done, it's a crisscross kind of vibe, but with this bigger nozzle, nice big chunky nozzle. Okay. It's just nice and easy on the hands and fills up your cake nice and quick. See. Quick. Let's do another one with the stars. Okay, so this is the French tip again. They've done kind of 2 rows here, but alternating. So I'm going to do that. It's not exactly like theirs, but I think it's fine. You get the idea. Oh, look. Okay. And then I'm going to do, I'm basically going to do this one and then that one to finish it. So one more out of this little one. Okay. And as you can see, it's a lot of repetition. It's just a question of doing it and doing it and doing it until it's full. But all of these skills are just skills. So whether you are doing a Christmas sweater or a Marie Antoinette or it doesn't really matter. All of it comes down to the same thing. All the skills are the same. All the nozzles are the same. It's just a question of slightly different patterns and learning what pattern makes what effect. And whether you use a big star or a small star, it really amounts to the same thing. Uh-oh, okay, I'm really getting tired. That one went very wobbly. Let's go again, okay. So obviously I'm just continuing because I'm making a video, but if you are tired, just take a break. You know, there's no harm in that. Okay, and then I'm going back to, actually maybe I should go to this. No, I'm going back to this guy and then I'm going to finish off with that at the top there. Okay, so I'm going back to the little French tip. Oopsie. Right. It looks quite squonky in the video, but it's actually not so squonky in life. Okay, so I'm going to French tip straight stars. And I'm keeping my eye on the top of the cake right now to prevent it from going skew. So even though I've covered up a little bit there, better that than having the top look skew. And then my very last one, I'm going to use the bigger 35, I think. And I'm going to do that alternating shell I was talking about earlier. Okay, so I'm going to go up and down, round and down, up and down, round and down. And I highly recommend if you're doing alternating shell, you start off with a test on something, because that it's one of these weird left brain, right brain things to go alternating side to side. It's taken me years to get to the point where I can just do it. There we go. And there's our sweater. Isn't it sweet? Just so you can see those cherries. There we go. The cherries are ruining it. Very cute. And then they've got like a little fondant ball of wool and two knitting needles sticking out, which is very cute. I might take a picture like that in a minute. Right, if you wanted to continue the pattern on the top, so I've just left it at that, because I probably won't take a photo of the top, but you could just continue your pattern in concentric circles if you were doing it on the top as well. Okay, then our last one that we wanted to do is the macrame, how do we say it? Which is, I want you to do some writing. I'll do some writing now for you guys. It's just this one. Okay, has to be done on the side of the cake because it needs to be also drop again. And I'm just going to do it with white. So I'm going to make myself some new bags. I'm just going to put all of this blue away so that I've got something to do it with. This purple, I'm a bit over it now. And this is a cake I just did in another class this morning. It was also a dummy, so it was like a painting class. I'm just going to scrape away a little section to do the effect on it. It's my wet cloth. Everything is extremely sticky here. There you go. This is a mess of a mess here. Okay. Because this is like a feature thing on the one side, we don't necessarily need to have marked out the sections or anything like that. And this type of string that they use for this is quite wide. So I'm going to, and I also don't want a lot of breaks, so I'm going to use something that is quite a bit wider than the one that we used, number 3.5. I'm going to use this guy here. It's an 800. Okay. Nice, wide, fat, straight one. Yeah. And I'm not really going to be changing in between, so I'm just going to put it straight into my bag. Okay, so I'm going to choose my least attractive side to scrape here. What should we scrape? The least needs to be scraped. Okay. Okay. Another nice piping bag. Where did I put that? Piping bags now. Oh no. Right. Where did I put them? Oh, there. I don't want to use that green one because it's so big for this particular application. Okay, so just same size again. Obviously, you need to have a reasonably flat surface to do this on. I can't really smooth around without messing up the whole rest of the cake, and I haven't taken a picture on the other side. So I'm just going to kind of make do with that. Okay. Nozzle inside. Again, you can use the coupler if you want. I'm not going to be changing. I'm just going to use this one. White icing, which is kind of, so I made these with butter. If you wanted it white, you would need to make it with wooden spoon margarine. Or you could pipe with a whipped white ganache, which is quite white. But the whipped ganache tends to firm up before you, or melt more easily. It's a bit more sort of temperature sensitive. So I think if you're doing these kind of details, I would stick with the butter icing. It's just a bit easier to work with. If you want to say white, though, then the only real option is wooden spoon margarine, which some people find the taste of not great. Some people like it, some people don't. It's really just a matter of personal preference. There we go. So there's my inspiration over there. Okay, I might have had another one. Oh, there's another one. Okay, so these are the two that I'm using as my inspiration. This one's got like a plaited vibe, which is quite interesting. This one's just got lots of drops. This one looks like less work. Let's do this one. So these ones in the pictures are actually made with fondant. So this is made with rolled out fondant or pushed through a extruder. But I'm just going to do it with the butter icing because it's using the same type of skills, and I thought it would be something fun to do. Right, so the first step is to have a central point, a central line where it's all going to come from. When they make it, they knot it around a stick or something. Okay. Right. Oops, look at some of it. Okay, so if you look here, they've got, sorry, I'm going to actually do this one. They've got different drops that go in different places. And then this kind of knot at the top here, I'm going to come back and pipe over to hide the joins. Okay. So first drop. Okay. Just long one now. Oh, my hands are shaking. Too many coffees. And also my bag is quite full. I'm actually just going to empty some out. So the sort of less strong your hands are, the more difficult it is to squeeze out a full bag. We'll see what I mean now. Okay. So now when I'm holding in my fist, it's much smaller. Okay. Okay. Can you see what I'm doing? Okay. So now I'm going to go in between. So I'm going to pick up central point and go between like that. Really nice long one. Okay. Okay, now I'm going to go, so, and I would suggest you do it so you get it symmetrical. Because if I did this and then I went over it and then over it again, it wouldn't be a symmetrical pattern. So I would do it mirror image all the time. Okay, so let's do a really long one. Over there. Uh-oh. Okay, that fell off there. You can see my love for the drop lines is fast fading. Oh, I'm using all here. Okay. And the cake underneath is quite dry now because it was quite a while since I worked on it. So that's probably another reason that it's not sticking quite so well. If you're battling with this, sorry, I'm making a huge mess here. Again, you can put it onto the tilt. Okay. So that just makes it that it doesn't drop off so easily. And you'll see now when I do this long line. Oh, no, it's just not going my way. Shall I call it? Not that one. Okay. It's so sticky. Let's do something different. Okay, so I'm going to go from this point here to that point there. Oh, no, it's just not happening. What is happening here? Okay. And you just carry on repeating different patterns until you fill it up as much as you want. So once you've done the joints, so let me just do a different one. Okay. And you can keep going. So once you've done like a joint, so this, I'm not going to add any more in this section perhaps, then you go over it like that, just to finish it, hide those places where it's joining, because it's always difficult to get them perfectly. And then that can just represent the knot that would be holding it on. Okay, oopsie. And you can obviously create further knots in other places. So in the picture again, they've used like a crossover knot. I thought that was quite attractive. If I went to a smaller nozzle, so they've got thinner ones and thicker ones, I'm just going to stick with my same one. But you could make a straight tassel. Okay. And then do that crossover knot here. Okay. And so on and so forth until it is as complex or as, you know, not complex as you want it to be. And so on and so forth. I feel like it could be a little bit less chunky, maybe. Okay. But obviously the thinner it is, the more likely it is to break. So I think if you're going to do something very complex, maybe start with your thicker one. You can always add in the little tassels with the thinner one. Like here, you can make little tassels that hang down, like that. And again, if you have slightly uneven ends onto them, I don't know, so maybe you want them to hang like that, like they're flying in the wind, or you can just push them down. Just using that brush, or I'm using a toothpick. There we go. And then you have your, whoopsie, I almost dropped that cake. Your macrame, your macrame, I don't know what you call this stuff. And you really can do anything with it. So I see a slight imperfection there. I don't know if you can see it, but I can. So maybe that's a place to put a knot to hide it. And so on and so on and so on. If you want to write something, what can I write on? I don't have any more cake places to write. I'm just going to write on here. It's not actually a cake, it's just my scraper. But what I really liked here with this is that by using the two colors, they made it kind of stand up more. So I'm just going to do it in miniature because I'm going to use this one, and then I have this yellow one, which is in a number 3. So I'm going to put the white underneath and the yellow on top. Right. Okay, let's just zoom in. it's just worse. There we go. Getting a lot of glare and reflection. Okay, so and it works in the same way by building up the borders. Okay. Obviously, whenever you're writing something, please make sure that you plan before you start that it's going to fit nicely into wherever you are, wherever you have to put it in. Okay, so I'm going to use, I've just got some yellow. This was also from the other class. So I'm just going to go over that with the yellow. Okay. And obviously it's going to, so you can see the other color underneath. Which I just thought was something fun and different. I don't know, I haven't seen many cakes like that. Something cool. Buttercream, there it is. Cool. So that is my story. If you have been watching this video, thank you very much for watching. If you have questions after the fact, you are welcome to WhatsApp me anytime. I will try and get back to you as quick as I can. There we go. Buttercream. Wait, let's just. Ta-da. Okay. I don't know if you can see, so it's got a bit of a two texture to it, which is just something a bit more than your usual kind of piping. And I feel like it's the kind of bubbly writing that is quite forgiving. So if you aren't that confident about your piping writing, it's the kind of thing that you can get away with quite easily. Great, and thank you for watching. And if you do have questions, let me know. And if you have pictures of cakes that you've made using these ideas, I would love to see them. Okay, bye.